protocols observed, I am honored to address you today and thank you for the opportunity to participate in the commemoration of the mass killings that tragically occurred in Iran in November 2019. Almost a year ago, after 2 days of nationwide anti-government protest against the tripling of gasoline prices across Iran, security forces responded by opening fire on demonstrators. At least 4,000 people were injured and 1,500 killed. The protesters were unarmed and largely unemployed or low-income youth. These unlawful killings were followed by the arrest, detention, and torture of 12,000 protesters and their families. In a cruel continuation of brutality, even family members that held memorials for their murdered loved ones were arrested. Unfortunately, these merciless acts of systematic repression have and are continuing. The social and economic hardships of the most vulnerable in Iran have been further intensified by the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has devastated many of our lives, but has also acted as a magnifying glass, amplifying and exposing countless social issues. The Iranian people are too in need of peace, justice, political freedom, and prosperity. Now is the time to act against the many crimes against humanity that have become normalized in Iran. The people of Iran demand a regime change and reject all forms of dictatorship, the monarchist and the theocratic regime. They demand and deserve a republic based on democratic elections, gender equality, separation of religion and state, freedom of thought and expression, as well as an end to discrimination against religious beliefs. The horrifying crisis that the people of Iran have had to endure reminds me of my grandparents' struggle during the apartheid era in South Africa. Similar to South Africa, the people of Iran have turned to the international community to boycott the regime and to engage in actions that legitimize commercial and political relations with the oppressive regime. The National Council of Resistance of Iran, by its president-elect, Mrs. Meriem Rajavi, is the Iranian people's opposition to the current regime and is a coalition of democratic forces. One of the members of this coalition is the People's Mojahedin Organization of Iran. Over the past 40 years, the current regime has executed 120,000 people for political reasons, most of which are members of the People's Mojahedin Organization of Iran. Mrs. Meriem Rajavi has developed a 10-point plan for the future of Iran, a plan that affirms the people's sovereignty in a republic founded on universal suffrage and pluralism, supports social, religious, and political freedoms, and calls for the disbanding of oppressive forces and institutions. It seeks justice for those massacred and prohibits torture and demands the abolishment of the death penalty, ensures gender equality and equal participation and the protection of women, pursues the independence of the judiciary and requires a legal system consistent with international standards. As a global village, we are each responsible to stand up and stand together with the people of Iran in their fight against oppression, dictatorship, injustices, and inequalities. As we remember the martyrs of the November 2019 demonstrations and the ongoing struggles of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, we must remember that there is no easy walk to freedom. My grandmother said that if you are to free yourselves, you must break the chains of oppression yourselves. My mission in life is not only to survive, but it is to thrive. Let us stand together in solidarity and compassion and support Mrs. Meriem Rajavi's plan for the future of Iran. Now is not the time for silence and inaction. We must forge a way forward together and to find a collective voice against Iran's regime for the freedom and prosperity of this generation and the next. Amandla.